In the waning days of 2012, under the cold gray skies of Zhuzhou, a city in China's vast Hunan province, an unsettling silence began to ripple through the bustling streets. A woman named Liu Anh, once vibrant, full of life and laughter, vanished without a whisper, leaving behind a void heavy with unanswered questions. What dark forces had swallowed her whole? Liu Anh was a woman who never hid her brilliance or her ambitions. Adorned in shimmering gold, her smile could light a room, her presence demanded attention. She lived boldly her life, a vivid tapestry woven with luxury, passion, and a relentless pursuit of success that many envied but few truly understood. But beneath that dazzling exterior, shadows lurked. A life threaded with risky liaisons, whispered debts, and fragile alliances that trembled on the edge of collapse. In the glittering facade, cracks were beginning to show, cracks that whispered of secrets better left buried. On the chilling day of November 19th, the world Liu Anh knew came to a sudden halt. She disappeared, no farewell, no trace. Her car sat abandoned, untouched in a quiet lot. Her phone rang unanswered, casting shadows of dread over those who loved her. Had she fallen victim to a cruel fate, or was this disappearance a sinister thread in a darker tapestry? Initial whispers of kidnapping for ransom stirred the city, yet no demands came. No contact, no threats, only silence. Then came a strange message, sent from a number tied not to her, but to her sister's husband, cryptic, haunting. A message that sowed confusion and ignited fear. "I must leave for a time," the message read. "Please do not worry." But why would Liu Anh send such words from an unfamiliar phone number? Was this a plea for help hidden in plain sight, or a cruel trick to mask a deeper horror? Neighbors spoke in hushed tones of the two men who often accompanied Liu Anh, figures from the underbelly of the city, known to haunt gambling dens and shadowed streets. Were they protectors? Or predators waiting patiently to strike? The police wove a delicate net of surveillance, their eyes sharp, yet the culprits always one step ahead. In a labyrinthine city where secrets breed like shadows, how does one untangle a knot so tightly bound in lies and silence? Rumors whispered of debts that gnawed at the edges of Liu Anh's life, debts of money, of trust broken, of promises lost. The cruel grip of gambling debts, dragging souls into darkness where light barely reaches. As the city's digital veins pulsed with anxious chatter, social media became a storm of speculation, accusations, fears, sorrow. The collective heart of Zhuzhou beat unevenly, gripped by a story that felt too close to home. But beyond the clamor, truth lingered silently, locked away in overlooked CCTV footage, in fractured alibis, in the fragile lies of those who claimed innocence. A hidden world waiting to be peeled open. Liu Anh's life was a delicate balancing act between light and shadow, love and danger, hope and despair. She walked a path where every step could lead to triumph or tragedy. What would follow was a nightmare etched into the city's memory, a harrowing tale of greed, betrayal, and a cruelty so profound it would shake the foundations of this tight-knit community. And as the veil lifted, a chilling question echoed: how well can we ever truly know those we call family? When familiar faces mask the darkest intentions, where does one find trust? So, what fate befell Liu Anh in the shadowed corners of Zhuzhou? Was her disappearance the unraveling of a sinister plan? The story is just beginning, and the answers lie waiting, buried beneath layers of silence and deception. As the investigation deepened, the tangled web of Liu Anh's social circle began to unravel. Two men emerged from the shadows, figures not just linked to her life, but seemingly entangled in the darker recesses of her world. Their presence was no mere coincidence, but a reflection of the dangerous undercurrents swirling beneath the surface. Human relationships, especially in places layered with social pressure and expectation, are rarely simple. Luan's connections were riddled with contradictions, friendship laced with mistrust, loyalty shadowed by hidden debts. It's in these fractures that the seeds of tragedy are often sown. One can't help but wonder how desperation twists the human mind. When burdened by debts, financial, emotional, or social rationality begins to erode. Fear festers, turning allies into adversaries, and shadows into threats lurking just out of sight. In Luan's case, her flamboyant public display of wealth and freedom may have drawn not just admiration, but envy and danger. Sometimes, the louder one shines, the deeper the darkness that seeks to consume. Psychologically, those living double lives balancing between respectability and hidden vices often live under immense stress. This tension can fracture relationships, warp decisions, and ultimately set the stage for irreversible outcomes. I find it heartbreaking how societal expectations can trap individuals in cycles of secrecy and self-destruction. Luan's story is a poignant example of how appearances mask profound struggles. The two men under suspicion both held murky pasts, each a portrait of hardship, addiction, and the lure of easy money through gambling and crime. Their involvement with Luan was complex, blending gratitude with exploitation, alliance with manipulation. From a criminal psychology standpoint, such relationships often breed cognitive dissonance. How does one reconcile affection or loyalty with the capacity to betray? This internal conflict can drive individuals toward desperate, sometimes violent acts. It's easy to judge from afar, but the pressures of poverty, addiction, and social stigma create a crucible where choices are narrowed and morality becomes a blurred line. Understanding this is key, not to excuse, but to comprehend the human depths of tragedy. Luan's association with these men reflected more than mere coincidence. It was a microcosm of a broader social reality. The margins where wealth meets want, and where survival often demands crossing lines others dare not approach. In many ways, this story challenges us to confront uncomfortable truths about human nature: the fragility of trust, the corrosive power of greed, and the devastating consequences when desperation eclipses hope. As an observer, I am struck by the tragic irony: those who should protect and care can sometimes become the very architects of destruction, driven by motives dark and tangled. Behind every crime lies a story of broken relationships and failed humanity. Luan's fate was sealed not just by a single act of violence, but by the cumulative weight of fractured bonds and unhealed wounds. The investigation thus became not merely a search for culprits but a deeper quest to understand the motivations that lead ordinary people into extraordinary darkness. And so we ask ourselves, how far can desperation drive a person? What secrets lie hidden behind the smiles we see? The answers will shape not just this case, but the way we perceive the fragile threads that bind us all. The day Luan disappeared began like any other, but beneath the surface, a silent storm was already gathering. Surveillance footage showed her entering a nondescript vehicle, a moment seemingly ordinary, yet destined to become the last trace of her freedom. But subtle clues whispered of something sinister. The dashcam footage from that vehicle was mysteriously damaged, a telltale sign that this was no random misfortune but a carefully planned act to erase evidence. Intent and premeditation often reveal themselves in what is missing. The silence of the cameras spoke volumes, a chilling testament to the cold calculation behind Luan's disappearance. Days later, the nightmare unfolded. Investigators discovered traces of Liu An's blood and horrifying evidence inside a modest apartment, the macabre reality far beyond what anyone could have imagined. The gruesome details pierced the heart of the community. Dismembered remains, concealed in a place meant for everyday life, the horror mingled with a stark sense of betrayal, as if the walls themselves wept. Psychologically, such brutality is a dark language, a statement of dominance, rage, and an attempt to obliterate the victim's existence, body and soul. One wonders, what fractures in humanity allow for such acts? How do people who once shared smiles cross the line into unfathomable violence? The grim reality is that money, addiction, and desperation can twist loyalty into lethal schemes. In this tragic tale, greed became a poison spreading through familiar veins. The perpetrator's attempt to disguise their crime with spices and cooking was a grotesque mask, a haunting metaphor for how evil can hide beneath the mundane. The investigation moved forward not just with forensic science but with a heavy heart, piecing together not only facts but the fractured humanity behind them. The two suspects, with histories marked by addiction and petty crime, became the dark protagonists of this nightmare, their paths forever entwined with tragedy. It is a sobering reminder that behind every headline lurk complex lives shaped by choices, circumstances, and sometimes, irreversible desperation. The confessions that followed peeled back layers of denial and deception, exposing the raw, brutal truth with no room for mercy. As the full horror was revealed, a collective mourning began, a community grappling not just with loss, but with the shattering of trust and safety. This harrowing chapter leaves us with profound questions about human nature, the boundaries of desperation, and the consequences when darkness consumes the light. To truly grasp the depths of this tragedy, we must step into the tangled minds behind the crime, where greed, fear, and fractured loyalties converge in a dark dance. In families burdened by wealth, money often acts as both a glue and a wedge, uniting in daylight, but corroding trust under the surface. Here, the fight over inheritance became a silent, deadly battleground. Liu An's fortune and the contested real estate symbolized more than wealth. It embodied status, control, and a legacy that some were desperate to claim at any cost. The patriarch of one suspect's family, a former officer with a shadowed past, carried with him the weight of power and intimidation, a figure whose legacy blurred lines between protection and oppression. This history of control shaped the family dynamics, where fear and authority often dictated unspoken rules, and resistance was met with ruthless consequence. Psychologists note that when status and power are threatened, desperation can twist into aggression, a fight for survival masked as honor. Quang Kiet, with a troubled past of deceit and petty crimes, embodied the complex intersections of loyalty and self-preservation, torn between family and personal demons. His internal battle, affection clashing with darker impulses, illustrates the psychological dissonance that can drive people to unthinkable acts. This case fits chillingly into the pattern of family annihilator crimes, where violence serves as a grim message and a desperate grasp for control. Jealousy, the green-eyed monster, may have simmered quietly beneath the surface, poisoning relationships until the dam broke with fatal consequences. The cultural weight of preserving honor and avoiding shame often drives families to silence and secrecy, even when danger lurks within. Financial battles transform natural bonds into fragile facades, where money becomes both weapon and shield, distorting empathy into suspicion. Behind the neon glow of the city, human frailty remains unchanged. Greed magnifies it, setting the stage for tragedy. This story challenges us to confront uncomfortable truths about how greed corrodes even the most sacred relationships. How often do we ignore the subtle warning signs hiding behind polite smiles? And what lessons can we learn to prevent such darkness from spreading? As we move forward, understanding the tangled psychology at the heart of this case is essential not only for justice but for healing and prevention. This case reveals a chilling web of conspiracy, where betrayal extended beyond family lines into shadowy alliances and calculated deception. Nguchi Bin, lover to one suspect, played a pivotal role, not merely a bystander, but an active conspirator in covering up the brutal crime. The conspirators orchestrated multiple safe houses, including the rented apartment where the horrifying evidence was found, a grim stage for their dark deeds. The grotesque act of dismembering the victim and concealing body parts in a cooking pot was a calculated effort to mislead and delay justice. A key figure in this web was Lam Thuan, connected to the entertainment world and known for facilitating escapes via maritime routes, hinting at the depths of criminal networking. Hong Kong's position as a maritime hub provides criminals with opportunities for rapid, covert movement exploited ruthlessly by this network. Fan Zhao Hein, a high-profile socialite linked to triad circles, was implicated, revealing how legitimate society and criminal underworld often intertwine. This mingling of power, crime, and family loyalty complicated the investigation and underscored the darkness lurking beneath society's polished surface. Encrypted communications and secret meetings unearthed a sprawling network protecting the perpetrators, showing a frightening level of organization. This case mirrors notorious triad conspiracies, where ruthless violence is wielded to protect family and power at all costs. But what sets this apart is the deadly cocktail of blood ties and organized crime, a convergence that breeds chaos and impunity. Personally, the cold, methodical nature of this crime chills me. How greed and ambition can so completely erode humanity. It's a grim reminder of how those closest to us can become instruments of destruction when corrupted by power and desperation. This story urges us to question appearances, to look beyond facades of harmony and success to the shadows beneath. As the investigation continues, justice is only one part of the battle. Dismantling the networks that enable such horrors is equally crucial. The story reaches its darkest moment as the investigation closes in on the perpetrators, leading to a violent confrontation that shocked the entire community. The fatal encounter ended with the tragic loss of life, sealing the grim fate of the victim and exposing the brutal reality beneath the crime. During a high-profile event, a masked assailant struck, sending shockwaves through the crowd and deepening the web of conspiracy. This assassination bore the hallmarks of cold calculation, a deadly message from those desperate to silence threats. Chaos erupted as gunfire echoed, sending people fleeing in panic, while law enforcement scrambled to restore order. The lead investigator faced off with the assassin, a tense duel blending courage, strategy, and sheer will. Officer Kwan's training and resolve were pushed to the limits as he navigated the assassin's lethal precision. The assassin's background as a former Special Forces sniper explained the deadly efficiency and coldness of the attack. In a final act of bravery, Officer Kwan subdued the assassin, ending the immediate threat but leaving deep scars on the community. The assassination's ripple effect shook elite circles, exposing long-hidden grudges and alliances. The assassination's ripple effect shook elite circles, exposing long-hidden grudges and alliances. This violent climax serves as a dark reminder of the deadly consequences when ambition and betrayal collide. The case revealed the dangerous intersections of crime, power, and family, a toxic mix in the undercurrents of the city. In the aftermath, the community mourned deeply, holding vigils to honor the victim's memory. The tragedy sparked a collective call for justice and deeper awareness of hidden dangers within society. This story remains a haunting reminder that beneath the city's brilliance lie shadows demanding our vigilance and compassion. As we close this painful chapter, we are left to ponder the fragile nature of human morality when confronted by greed and desperation. This case urges us to look beyond surface appearances and question how vanity and material desire can lead to tragic ends. Though the cruelty was monstrous, it serves as a somber reminder to cultivate humility and awareness in a world rife with temptation. May we carry forward the lessons learned here, that true strength lies in kindness, restraint, and respect for life. If this story has touched you, please like, share, and subscribe to support our journey in revealing hidden truths. Your voice matters. Join the conversation below and help foster awareness and healing in our community. Thank you for walking this path with us, through shadows and light. Remember, every life has value beyond wealth or status, and the courage to choose integrity shapes our true legacy. Let us embrace humility, compassion, and vigilance as we move forward in this complex world. Until our next story, may your heart remain open and your spirit free. Goodbye, and take care. As the final echoes of this tragic story fade, we are reminded that darkness often hides in the places we least expect, in the hearts of those closest to us. This case is more than a chilling crime, it is a mirror reflecting our deepest vulnerabilities, the perils of unchecked desire and the fragile bonds that hold us together. In the end, it is not wealth or power that defines us, but the choices we make when confronted with temptation. May this story inspire a deeper awareness of our actions and a renewed commitment to compassion and humility. Let us honor the memory of those lost by striving for a world where justice prevails and human dignity is never forgotten. Thank you for sharing this journey with us. Your presence keeps the light alive amidst the shadows. Please like, share, and subscribe to help us continue uncovering stories that matter, touching hearts and minds alike. Your voice is powerful. Leave your thoughts below and join a community dedicated to truth, healing, and growth. Until we meet again in another tale, may your heart be steady and your spirit resilient. Goodbye, and take care.